Hi, my name is Kareem Zreik. I'm 27 years old and I'm living with bipolar affective disorder type 2. As a student of science and philosophy, I'm quite intimate with mental health and the various psychological and psychiatric disorders that affect humanity as a whole. And I learned these things a couple of years back, way before I had any inkling that I have a mental illness. And thinking back on what I learned and thinking back now on what I have, it's quite interesting to see that one can rationalize these things, have an intellectual relationship with them, but until you have the disease, until you're actually living with it, it's exceedingly difficult, in fact possibly impossible to relate to it. Think about gravity. We know that it weighs objects down. We see its effect, but it's invisible. If we didn't have gravity, we'd have no way to explain why an apple is falling from a tree. And similarly, mental illness weighs you down, and it too is invisible. But its effects are not so clear-cut, because someone living with mental illness does not have a sign that says, hey, I'm schizophrenic, hey, I have bipolar disorder, and so on. The effects are inside. The torture, the pain they feel, the pain I felt, is not something that you can just look at. Say like a fractured bone, or someone with a cancerous tumor, and so forth. But the most important thing to know is, despite the fact that mental illness is associated with stigma, with fear, mistrust, this sense that anybody who has a mental disease is somehow, not part of our society, somehow has to be shunned away, you can still get better and you can overcome these numerous barriers that unfortunately exist in our society today. It need not be your psychiatrist, psychologist, but that's a really good place to start, and that's where I sought my treatment. But the basic thing is to talk about it, because sometimes you may not be aware of what's going on in your life, what you're doing, how you're behaving, how you're thinking. You have to reach out. You cannot do this alone. Whether it's medications, therapy, exercise, the treatment plan is there, depending on your specific type of mental illness and how your body and mind respond. But the idea is, you're not alone. This darkness that you feel, this overwhelming sense of hopelessness, despair, this idea that I don't want to be alive, I don't want to be part of this world, I could relate to it. And I know, listening to me now, if you are experiencing it, you would not believe that you can get over it. You would simply say, this person is lying, or he didn't have it that bad. But trust me, I did. And a lot of people, millions in fact, over the world, have it that bad as well. And if you've overcome it, then you can relate perfectly to the idea that, you can get better, that help is out there. Just think about it. And keep in mind that even though it might be dark now, even though people might treat you differently because you have a mental illness, it's no different than having, as I said earlier, a fractured bone or a cancerous tumor. And so in this darkness, just keep pushing on, keep fighting, and know that it does get brighter.